All right, everyone. Welcome back into another NBA DFS live video. We got the two-man live stream going here for you. Myself as well as Chuck here. Chuck, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. How you doing today, Eric?
Pretty well. Got a pretty crazy slate here today. Just
Yeah.
already had some news break. It's a testing one for our second two-man live stream. So we'll see what we can do here. So I think because it's such a bigger slate, we'll just go ahead and do it position by position pretty much. We can start with kind of the injury news. Obviously, we just got news with Curry being out and whatnot, Clay being out. So there's going to be a lot of Golden State Warriors value that's pretty much opened up. That's the biggest thing. Should we just touch on that to start off the stream?
Yeah, I think that's going to be probably the biggest part of the slate today is the Warriors, since they have no Steph, no Clay, no Draymond, no Wiggins, right?
Yep.
And so the guys that I'm getting the most from this team so far were like Ty Jerome, Jordan Poole was a big one. Ty Jerome, Jordan Poole, and Dante DiVincenzo at that lower price. Since when he was up to 8K, when he was like getting that playing time, he kind of lost a little bit, but I think he'll step into 30 minutes again tonight.
Yeah, so at that price tag for Dante DiVincenzo, does that almost feel like it should? I don't want to say the lock word. I hate using the lock word, but to me, it almost feels like he should be at least $1,000, maybe $1,400 more expensive on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Is that? I know he's going to be, very chalky on FanDuel. On DraftKings, pretty chalky as well. Is that just a situation where we kind of just need to eat the chalk?
With this one, yeah, I think Dante DiVincenzo in this role. I know Jordan Poole is still there. I think this is good chalk, though. I agree. Like he should be at least $1,000 more expensive. We haven't projected for 34 minutes. 23% on DraftKings, 48% on FanDuel ownership. If that DraftKings ownership stays around 23%, that sounds great. The FanDuel ownership, I wouldn't be surprised if it was up close to there, since he's really easy to just plug into your lineup.
Yes. And let's just check real quick. Is he okay? He is guard and forward eligible on both sides, so that obviously helps with ownership being up there. What about Anthony Lamb? So to me, the price tag is probably correct, but he had been someone that when he was under 4K, I was turning to a decent amount. Do you have any thoughts on Anthony Lamb?
Yeah, Anthony Lamb to me, I don't know. He's going to step into a bigger role. He's projected for over 30 minutes. His ownership is pretty reasonable on both sites. But to me, I kind of look at Anthony Lamb as more of like just a GPV play, regardless of what his ownership is. Just, he's kind of a high risk player, but he is a good play. He's going to see the court. And we've seen him play himself into extra minutes when he's doing well. So,
yeah. And then lastly, let's just talk about Jordan Poole there. Because on FanDuel, I mean, he's going to be really extreme chalk, I think, just because he's a little bit cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. But he doesn't necessarily step up as much as kind of other players do when players are out. So what are your kind of thoughts there?
well, the thing with Jordan Poole is his usage is already so high, regardless of who's in or out. But without Clay and without Curry, he does have the opportunity to, kind of run this team. And so as long as he's playing well, I think at his price, he's a really good play. I mean, he's priced for Clay and Curry to be in. I think he would be a few hundred more expensive on both sites. That FanDuel price is a little bit too cheap, 7,600. He should be popular there. And then DraftKings is 7,900. I have no problem getting to. I'm going to get to a lot of this team tonight.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So any stacks then, I guess, with that, running it back at all?
Running it back.
I know you don't do that many stacks, so I apologize. I keep phrasing it that way, but obviously with us loading up on Golden State Warriors, we are trying to say that, yes, there's a lot of value there, but we also want the game to stay close.
Yeah, that is one thing. Like, if I'm playing, I'm gonna probably have a bunch of lineups with 3 Warriors tonight. So I would like to have one Cavan on the other side. I don't know that's necessarily a rule I'm gonna set, but that's something to keep in mind. Maybe if you're hand building. But it's not like any of the Cavaliers really stand out today. If Donovan Mitchell plays, they're all pretty much priced appropriately.
Yeah, especially because he was sat out the last game. Thus, LeVert got priced up a little bit. Garland got priced up a little bit. I guess LeVert would still be pretty cheap, but yeah, that makes sense. So just looking at it, we did have a question come in from Kevin, wondering what is the best small forward play that's 3.9 and below?
So in terms of value plays, we have no shortage of value plays today. So let's take a look.
Yeah, I was going to pull it up as well for both FanDuel and DraftKings, just looking at it that way.
I mean, just sorting by the model, Dorian Finney-Smith at 3,800 on DraftKings, small forward, power forward eligibility. Christian Wood is out, so but it's like his usage is still going to be so low, and he's coming in at 19% ownership right now. We haven't projected for 34 minutes. He's such a low fantasy points per minute guy that 34 minutes, like, it's significant, but it's not enough for us to want to play Dorian Finney-Smith at 19%. I mean, just looking down the list, other guys, I'm not sure that there's a small forward at that price that we're looking for. You might have to do
Like
a
a huge
2v2.
one, but
Yeah.
Even on FanDuel as well. I don't know if that's a FanDuel question as well, but let me just sort by FanDuel real quick. Yeah, nothing. AJ Griffin.
Yeah, AJ Griffin.
I guess it's on DraftKings, so never mind. That's dumb.
Yeah, AJ Griffin is a player I might be interested though. Depending what happens with the Atlanta injury news, if Trae Young is out, AJ Griffin is kind of their guy off the bench. If Bogdanovich sits out too, so keep an eye on that. He might be a sneaky play later.
Yeah, he's been someone that's really kind of just been stepping up a lot recently. It seems like both production and usage wise. So yeah, I like that call. I mean, cheap price tag, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It is kind of like a dead price point range. Like either you're going DFS, which you don't feel great about, or because it's either low like AJ Griffin, you're probably just trying to rebuild at that point, which kind of happens. That happens sometimes. So.
Well, the nice thing about Dante DiVincenzo is he's small forward, point guard eligible, DraftKings, shooting guard, small forward on FanDuel. So I would try to just have him, like, he's probably going to fill most of your small forward spots because it seems like small forward is a little bit harder to fill tonight, like it usually is. Yeah,
I just cannot believe that projected ownership for DraftKings. Really, it's just, I feel like it should be the exact same as it is on FanDuel. Multiple position eligibility. So
I'd be very surprised if it was as low as 23% for Dante DiVincenzo. I agree.
Yes. All right, so we did have another question come in. Do you want the bigs on the other side of this game? So they're talking about the Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Got to that question a little bit late. Sort of, I would say, but not exactly must plays. This game probably has a bigger blowout potential. I didn't even pull up that game to see what was projected. But sure, Mobley's in play. Could easily go for 40 DK points at a cheap price tag, obviously. And then you also have Jared Allen in a pretty good spot as well. The problem, and we kind of mentioned this on the last video, is that I don't want to say they don't coexist, but it's more difficult for one of them to have a big game when they're both doing well. So for me, I like to pick and choose them.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. I'm going to have both of them in my player pool, and it's just kind of random which lineups they're going to end in. Evan Mobley does have power forward eligibility on DraftKings. Jared Allen only center.
But that makes him a little bit more appealing. Yeah.
Their prices are basically the same. Ownership's the same. The index has them exactly the same. So, it's kind of just, I think it's just random which one you're going to get in your lineup. I don't think there should be a preference one or the other.
Yeah. Okay. So, we touched on the Christian Wood news. We'll get into that, I think, as the slate progresses. Let's just start off with the point guards here. And I'll just pull it up on on the Occupy model here, sorted by position. We'll go point guard. So looking at it right now, we already touched on Dante DiVincenzo being a pretty good play. What are some other players that you'd be looking at? We'll start with FanDuel. Is there anyone specifically you'd be looking at on FanDuel?
Well, on FanDuel, if we're just sorting by ownership, the second highest point guard is De'Aaron, then it's Luka, and then Jordan Poole. I think they're all great plays. I think Luka, I don't know. I feel it's not that he's had 2 bad games in a row, but it's just a lot easier to get these other guys in your lineup. Like De'Aaron Fox is 4,000 less than Luka. Jordan Poole is more than 4,000 less. And even like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at point guard position, he's not pulling that much ownership, and I'd rather get to Shai than Luka tonight. Just looking at the lineups, unless we get some, I know we have all the value already, but I think my lineups look better when I'm saving that 3K and going to a player like SGA over Luka. But Luka's still going to be a great play tonight. No Christian Wood.
Yeah, I mean, it is a difficult matchup going against Miami for sure. But obviously with Christian Wood being out, that's going to help Luka out a lot. It wouldn't be shocking to see, I would say 60 fantasy points or so. But I don't know if we're going to get one of those huge upside, like 80, 70 point fantasy nights like he had been getting. Also, that's benefit to some overtime games. But yeah, I would agree with that. But at the same time, it is easy to fit him into your build. So and is he the highest priced player, like really by far on this slate? I forget. Yes.
Yeah.
So got a lot of players questionable, but yeah. So that definitely makes it interesting. So other than that, I kind of like Andrew Nembhard a little bit, just kind of at his price tag, a little bit more on DraftKings. I think he's a GPP only play. He is popping up a little bit ownership wise. And he's just been someone, just in general, if you're looking at his game logs, has been struggling to shoot the basketball really the last few games prior to the last game. So he had 27 minutes in the last game, went 7, 4, 16. Shot the ball well in that game. Prior to that, 3 for 9, 2 for 9, 2 for 16, 4 for 10. Like, had just been struggling. So this game has the potential to both be a blowout, but also be a game in which he still gets minutes. Do you like him as a guard play? I think it's more of a DraftKings play than a FanDuel play, given the price tag. But what are your kind of thoughts on him?
So Nemhard, I thought was so interesting because, like you said, he's been playing terrible, and he was playing terrible last game. But then he got the blowout run. Like they kept him in the game at the end of the fourth quarter, and that's when he got a lot of his fantasy points. And so, if this is a player that I always talk about, like a guy who can get there without the blowout run, but then is also going to possibly benefit from blowout run, it's a guy we're going to be interested in. I think his price is fine. He's the pivot from Dante DiVincenzo. You can fit both in a lineup. I'd rather get to Dante because his role is more clear, his minutes are more secure. But Nemhard is a decent GPP play. I'd rather get to him than TJ McConnell anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. So just kind of looking at the other FanDuel kind of guard plays that are popping up, point guard plays that are popping up, a little bit of Mike Conley, a little bit of Ja Morant. Jalen Brunson probably feels appropriately priced. Jamal Murray, there's a big price discrepancy between him on FanDuel and DraftKings, so lower owned on FanDuel. Let's see here. Anyone else really pop? Poole, obviously. Kyrie, still a little bit too priced up. No one that's really catching my eyes as must plays. It is Dante. It is Fox. SGA maybe.
Jamal Murray. Yeah, Jamal Murray is the guy that caught my eye a little bit. He's that 6,600 on DraftKings is just a little too cheap. The 7,400 FanDuel, we can make a decision, but I think the 6,600 on DraftKings is just such a good price for him.
And let's see the ownership on him. It's not too high. It's 17%.
Yeah, and I feel like his ownership tends to come in lower every night, and I'm not quite sure why, because he's a great play every night. He's been doing awesome. There is blowout risk, but he's on the team that would be doing the blowout, so we're less concerned about that.
So yeah, I just pulled up the game log here. 3 out of 4 games over 40 DK points. And so to still be at 6.6 is just very strange. And yes, even if it's a blowout, he's probably going to be part of the reason as to why it is a blowout. So yeah, that seems like a strange one to me. I don't get why they haven't price corrected there just yet.
That's one of the best targets, I think, for GPPs tonight.
So do you want to get into any other point guards, or should we move on into shooting guards?
Well, DeJounte's point guard, shooting guard eligible. I just want to mention him. If Trey is out, he's going to be a phenomenal play at that price. I know he failed last time Trey was out, but that was against the Bucks and Drew Holiday. They doubled him the whole game. If Trey's in, his price is still good. DeJounte Murray, point guard, shooting guard eligible on DraftKings, the 7,800 at low ownership is pretty reasonable. And you mentioned Jalen Brunson. I'm always a fan of getting to Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, I mean, he's just at still a cheap price tag on both sites there, and he has been someone that's consistently putting up 40 to maybe 60 DK points. The downside hasn't really been there too much recently. There's a lot of strange price tags where it doesn't seem like they're price enforcing too much, and that seems to be Jalen Brunson for quite a bit now. So, yeah.
It's like crazy to hear you say Jalen Brunson's a good price at 8,600. But it is a good price for him. He's a great player. He's playing 40 minutes. He has all the usage. So
that's like with Lord Marketing, and I keep saying he's too cheap, and it was like 7K, 8K, 9K. I'm like, all right, maybe we start to think about it. It is weird how that works in NBA for sure.
Yeah.
So moving on into the shooting guards, sorting it by shooting guard on DraftKings. Looking at the highest projected owned shooting guards, we got Ty Jerome, Desmond Bane, Josh Giddey, Jordan Poole. We already talked about Andrew, Moody, Mathurin, Malik Beasley. So who are you kind of looking at for shooting guards?
For shooting guards, well, Ty Jerome has a shooting guard eligibility, which is huge. And I guess for the other values, I'm not really sure. Dylan Brooks is a guy that's really, we don't want to get to. Andrew Nemhard showing up near the top of value, shooting guard eligible, so that's great.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising they still popping up there.
Yeah. Kevin Werder showing up near the top of value. I love it because he's projected for under 10% ownership. When he's in this mid 5K, I think it's too cheap. Great matchup against the Thunder tonight. Kevin Werder, excellent tournament target at his price. Kind of the same with Quentin Grimes, 4,500. So his usage is so low because he's always going to be on the court next to Randall, Barrett, Brunson, and probably Quickly. But he's getting the minutes. There's no Robinson tonight. They did close small last game. And he's cheap with low ownership, 4,500 on DraftKings for Quentin Grimes. I think he's worth taking a couple shots. And then Desmond Bane against the Lakers. That's going to be a big target tonight at 7K.
So Quentin Grimes, I'm just trying to pull him up here real quick. Let's see. Yeah, 31 minutes, 40 minutes. That's an interesting name there, and obviously he's someone that can get hot shooting the basketball. He wasn't someone I was looking at. That's a interesting call there.
It's like he's not going to be a great play points per dollar, but like I said, he's cheap. He has the opportunity to play 35 plus minutes. There's no Mitchell Robinson tonight, so their rotation might get a little bit different than what we've seen before.
Yeah, so we just touch on that real quick. Looking at the New York side of the ball with Mitchell Robinson out, is it just loading up on Hartenstein? I was kind of surprised that he wasn't garnering any ownership really when we kind of were just highlighting it. What are your, I guess, where are we going with the Julius Randle news?
So to be honest with Hartenstein, I'm not that excited to play him if he's going to come in 20% or higher owned. So we're expecting him to start, but his usage rates, like everyone was playing him in the beginning of the season when he was kind of cheap and he was getting the minutes because we expected his usage to be at least similar to what it was last year, but it's just not there given who's on the court with him when he gets on the court. And so we saw him start the second half after Mitchell Robinson got hurt. He played 5 minutes and then Jericho Sims checked in for him, played about 12 minutes in a row, and then they just closed with Randall at center. And Quickly was the fifth player on with Quentin Grimes and Barrett and Brunson. So I'd much rather get to Jericho Sims than Hartenstein tonight, but keep an eye on the ownership. If the ownership gets closer, then I'm going to be kind of indifferent. But with that ownership gap, I think they should both be projected pretty much the same. And so I don't understand the ownership gap, but Jericho Sims is a guy to keep an eye on to me over Hartenstein.
And we have seen Julius Randle's price kind of come down a little bit recently. I feel like he should benefit more or just have a higher floor with Mitchell Robinson out.
Oh, I agree, especially if he's going to close at center. Even 5 center minutes for Julius Randle is huge. If he gets an extra 2 minutes on his playing time total, it's just a great spot. I think Julius, especially against Atlanta, I'm pretty interested in this entire team.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. He went off against them the last time, 69.25 DK points. Obviously, a much cheaper price tag, but let me pull up. What is his ownership at? Do you have it pulled up?
It was around it was under 15%.
Yeah, 12-9. So that could be a pretty good spot there, ownership wise, on the field. Yes. And then RJ Barrett, just real quick, he's getting a little bit of chalk. Is that correct? I am kind of hesitant. I get it on DraftKings where he's $500 cheaper. I don't exactly know what to do with that because I feel like he's probably a little bit too high owned, but I get it because of the price tag.
It's kind of the same thing. Like Mitchell Robinson being out doesn't increase his usage that much. I don't even know if it does at all. I'd rather get to Brunson and Randall, but there is such a big price difference that we have to get to some RJ Barrett today, I think, and he fills that small forward position. But my preference would be just pay up for Brunson or Randall.
Yeah, I think with RJ Barrett, he's the same play that he was already regardless. Maybe his floor gets raised slightly, but yeah, I mean, he's just too cheap of a play on the slate regardless.
Yeah, those 40 minutes for 6,500 with a player that can have the usage that RJ Barrett does, it's pretty hard to get away from. I agree.
Yeah. So let's just close up the shooting guard position. I know we kind of went off on the Knicks a little bit there. Just looking at the DraftKings side of it, Dylan Brooks is actually pulling in as one of the best projected value plays, shooting guard wise. And then Ty Jerome still. I mean, really the biggest name that's popping up there would be Dylan Brooks. Do you have any thoughts on Dylan Brooks today? Coming in at 2% owned as well.
So at 2% owned against the Lakers under 5K, we can take shots on Dylan Brooks. But my preference is really just going to be Desmond Bane and John Morant from that game. I'd rather pay the 2K extra and get to Bane, but Brooks does have a ceiling. And at 2%, you can take shots in tournaments. Yeah. If he outscores Bane, then it's huge.
Yeah. That game, isn't it projected to somewhat be a blowout too, though? Like
Grizzlies, Lakers.
Yeah.
It's within 10. Within 10, I'm okay.
Yeah, I gotcha. I just wouldn't want to load up on too many. Then, if it has the potential to be a blowout there.
We're showing 5.5 right now. So
okay. So it's gotten better.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and move into the small forward position. So looking at right now, obviously Dante DiVincenzo on FanDuel is chalk that we already stated you should probably eat. Coming in at 48% owned. It's just such a cheap price tag on FanDuel. Where else are we looking? We got Marshall pulling up there as well. Lamb pulling up there. RJ Barrett, who we already mentioned. Mathurin, we haven't really touched on Mathurin too much. Where are we looking at?
Mathurin, I don't know. He's a rookie. It's a 9-game slate. It's just not a guy that I'm ever that excited to get to. I have him in my player pool. I didn't cross him out or anything. But he's a tournament play. 10% on DraftKings, 20% on FanDuel. I don't know. To me, 20% for Matherin on FanDuel just seems too high.
Yeah.
He's 5,300. He's not a bad player, but there's other spots he shouldn't. Like, there's other spots with less than 10% ownership that we can get to.
Yeah, and you can probably get the same production at the same price tag too. It's not like he's a must play. It does seem a little bit strange ownership wise, and maybe that's just something where at the start of the day people were pulling him in there because we didn't have that much value, that much news, and now it just hasn't corrected yet. People haven't adjusted to the Warriors news and whatnot completely. So yeah, I could see that number coming down for Matherin there.
And like
Keldon
you said,
Johnson,
Keldon.
I hate playing him. Or I honestly hate giving advice on Keldon Johnson because it's so hit or miss. Just the Spurs in general have been so difficult to, I don't want to say predict, but to predict, I guess, just because they're getting the minutes sometimes, and he's been productive sometimes. It's like a good GPP play, but more times than not, he's burning me. It feels like I guess what are you doing with Keldon Johnson? What are you doing with the Spurs tonight?
On DraftKings, I'm probably just not going to get there that much. I didn't cross him out, but I think his price is a little bit too high for the projection that he probably has today. FanDuel 7,100. It's a reasonable price. It's a really tough matchup against the Clippers. We saw Keldon Johnson for 2 months, give us 35 fantasy points. And then last time I think he had 60 plus.
Yep.
Yeah, 62. So he's a tournament play. At 3% on DraftKings, we can take some shots, but I think there's better plays. But he is a tournament play.
So I know we're kind of sticking with the small forwards, but just looking at it, I don't really like Trey Jones too much at 6.5, although he's been consistent fantasy producer for the Spurs. And then Sochan, I really don't know what to do with him. And then Jakob Poeltl. Is Jakob Poeltl a good GPP play?
I think Jakob Poeltl is always a good GPP play. Yeah, when he's 2% owned around 6K, I think he's fine. That's really the only player on the Spurs I'm getting to today. It's 2 hours before lock, so things can change. But just looking through my exposures, that's the only Spur that I'm getting right now is Jakob Poeltl, and at a very low percent.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say for small forward and shooting guard, we didn't really talk about Paul George and Kawhi. They're both very expensive. I don't know if we have to get there today, but if you want to play them at a couple percent, they're really deep shot tournament targets.
So I feel like with Paul George back, I feel like Kawhi is probably too high of a price tag at 10.3. But Paul George, he's kind of been the 1A in that offense. So I do feel like it's a little bit, at least for the beginning of the season, I do feel like that's a little bit too cheap of a price tag. I know he's been terrible recently.
Let's see. Yeah, we can get to Paul George at the 91, and 85 on FanDuel is a really great price too.
Yes.
But yeah, like you said, the Kawhi is a little bit too expensive right now. On FanDuel, 9,400 maybe, but
yeah, obviously just with Paul George out, he was kind of dominating and whatnot. So what he's is, I just want to see Paul George on FanDuel. How high owned is he? Let's see.
Seeing about
6.
Yeah.
It's pretty
not
cheap.
at all. Yeah. So yeah, tournament target, Paul George, if you want to take the risk.
Well, I mean, to me, that seems well worth the risk. I know on DraftKings probably a little bit too high priced, but
yeah, it's the Spurs, but
yeah. I mean, if it's a blowout,
yeah,
he should be part of the reason as to why it's a blowout.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on into power forward here. Just touching on it. I guess we do have a couple of questions that we can hit on. Steve Adams was the question, kind of just thoughts on Steven Adams, I'm guessing. And then who's a good power forward value? So we're getting into the power forwards right now. We'll answer that after the Steven Adams question.
So Steven Adams was actually a guy I was looking at earlier. He's playing against the Lakers. When he's coming in under 5% ownership, I'm going to take shots on Steven Adams, especially against this Lakers team.
He's still that low owned, huh?
Yeah, I have him. I need to refresh. I saw him 5% when I was looking earlier.
I mean, I honestly thought that was going to go up as the day progressed. You come in for the morning research and whatnot, just given the matchup, obviously.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Lakers are going to try to go back to Thomas Bryant a little bit more, but he lost his playing time to Wenyen Gabriel pretty much. He's still going to start, but Wenyen Gabriel's the guy. I don't know if it's better for Steven Adams or not, but either way, I'm going to like Steven Adams versus the Lakers tonight at low ownership.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him go off against the Spurs, who I would say are a somewhat similar matchup in terms of guarding the center. Charlotte went off considering the price tag. I'm pretty shocked at that ownership.
It's the highest total on the day, 245. I think we want to load up on this Grizzlies and Lakers game, but Lakers are a little bit tougher, but Grizzlies players are pretty reasonably priced, I think.
So are you I know you probably won't set a rule on this, but would it be around 2 or 3 Memphis players?
I'm probably not going to set a rule. Let me see if I have in my set. It just
not that juicy of a matchup.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have enough of them. I don't know.
I mean, the pricing is correct, maybe besides Adams.
Bane's a good price. Like, Ja Morant's a stud against the Lakers under 10K. We can take shots. And so, I don't know. It's really Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Steven Adams from this team for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just a quick apologies to everyone watching. I know I had the date wrong on the live stream. I apologize. I just made that invisible. So, but looking at the power forward value here, we're getting into that. So we'll sort by FanDuel just to start with. FanDuel value. We got Kuminga obviously popping up there. Markkanen under 9K. DFS again popping up there. Seems to be always popping up. Aaron Gordon. I know value-wise he's probably saying like a cheap price tag. So let me just do the filter there. So Keegan Murray, Kenrich Williams, Sochan, Marcus Morris. Probably not Marcus Morris tonight. Not playing him. Unless you think so. What are your thoughts on Marcus Morris?
I'm not playing Marcus Morris.
Okay. I was going to say, I didn't think so, but yeah, Anthony Lamb's popping up there as well. Kind of higher owned on FanDuel. Could play him. I'm not saying that's chalk you should need, but it's a fine play. And then Jericho Sims, a decent play on FanDuel. He's center eligible. On DraftKings, you got power forward center eligibility. Who would you, let's rank those. Who would be your top 3 on FanDuel there for low priced power forward plays?
Honestly, I don't think I like enough of them to even say like these are my 1 through 3. I mean, just looking at the value on FanDuel, the cheap power forwards do not look amazing today.
Okay, so let's do it by DraftKings then, if that helps a little bit.
Yeah. Even on DraftKings, I mean, the guy that's showing up on both sites, like Najee Marshall, I think is fine. Kuminga, Kuminga was questionable earlier. I'm not sure. Maybe he got updated to probable.
Yeah, so if Kuminga is out, obviously, you'd probably just shift Anthony Lamb, and he'd be almost, I don't want to say too good to pass up on, but probably forced into playing him a little bit more.
Yeah. Anthony Lamb, Jericho Sims, honestly, is probably going to show up in a lot of my power forward spots. Like, looking at this position, it's pretty tough. We might end up wanting to pay up a little bit.
Okay, and that's probably why he's asking.
Yeah. Aaron Gordon looks fine, and John Collins is cheap, but with Capella back, it muddies it up. I know he had a good game with Capella in last time, but I can't expect that every time.
And then Hunter, too, as well. I know he's more small forward, but
yeah, if
away from him.
Well, if Trey and Bogdanovich are out, or even if just Bogdanovich is out, it's a couple more minutes for DeAndre Hunter, so we can take some looks there, too.
So I looked. It said recently that now Trae Young is expected to play or probable.
Okay.
So I'm kind of assuming he's going to play, and then Bogdanovich still questionable.
Okay, so with Trae in, it's, DeJounte Murray's still a good price. If Bogdanovich is out, we can take some shots on the other guys. AJ Griffin would be in play if Bogdanovich is out at the min price.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, 20 minutes. 19 DK points is still not terrible at that price tag, especially going against the Knicks, a team I don't want to say could blow out, but a game that could be higher scoring. I don't mind that.
It is a thin play. Like, if we only get 20 points from a min-priced player we're playing today, we're probably not going to win a tournament. So just be careful with that. We need more than 20 points from a min-priced guy.
Mm-hmm. And looking at the last game against them, played 29 minutes, went 3 for 13, 1 for 8 from the 3-point range, and then only 15 DK points. So yeah, he would need to shoot the ball a little bit better there.
I mean, the part that I love here is the 40 minutes and 17 shots, 20, 29, 30, 35 minutes, all of double-digit shot attempts. Like, the opportunities to score fantasy points, that's all we're looking for. So
yes. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I see a poor night shooting, and I'm just like, yes, let's load on up.
Yeah, because people aren't going to want to play him next game, but it should be the opposite.
Exactly, yes. So I don't know if we have any more questions. If you guys have them, make sure to get those in. I'd be happy to answer those. But we're going to move on into the center position. So what are your thoughts on the center position as a whole? I know on the last live stream, we were kind of trying to load up on 2 centers, and that ended up working out pretty well in terms of cash for me. What are you kind of looking at GPP wise?
So most nights, the first thing I really start my GPP lineup with is, are there 2 centers that I'm really interested in, especially when they're in the mid range? Even better if they're lower price. So there's a lot of good centers today. Um, I mean, sorting by ownership percentage, it's Joe Val, Hartenstein. For some reason, LeBron's a center. And then Wendell Carter and Jermichael Green. I understand. Like Wendell Carter, yeah, his price is good. Jermichael Green, min price on this Warriors team, that's fine to get to. But Walker Kessler, under 6K, I don't care that Markkanen's back. Like Walker Kessler showed that he doesn't really care either. I imagine his ownership is going to come in higher than 12%, but I think Walker Kessler is one of the best GPP plays against Brooklyn tonight.
So do you think his minutes are going to stay there in the, like, let's just say above 25 to possibly 33?
Oh yeah, I see. With as long as Olynyk's out, he's shown that he's such a good basketball player. There's no reason that he would lose minutes. Like, I mean, the least he played was 27 a couple games ago. I would expect at least 27 minutes, and if he plays 27 minutes at this price, he's just gonna smash.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that actually. I like that call. And so he's still coming in pretty low owned. That'd be a pretty good leverage spot. I might play him. I don't want to say he's a good cash play, but I might play him in cash just at that price tag. I like that call, a decent amount there.
I think he'd be fine in cash. I'd rather get to hit like the cash center today is probably Hartenstein. I'm not sure if that's gonna stay, but like I'd rather get it's like that's why I don't play cash though. I'd rather play Walker Kessler. So
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 different mindsets, really. It is. So other center plays here. I mean, Dwight Powell is kind of popping up there. Probably not touching him. I guess. What are your thoughts on the centers with Christian Wood out? Is there anyone we can play for Dallas?
my problem is like Christian Wood is out, but we didn't really see any of these guys doing very well when Christian Wood was coming off the bench playing 24 minutes a night. So you know they're going to get more minutes, but they're still playing next to Luka. They're still playing next to Dinwiddie. So I don't think that anyone's usage gets high enough to where they're someone we really want to target. Like Dwight Powell's the min price on DraftKings. He's capable of putting up 30 plus fantasy points, but I don't know, 10% ownership. It's really not that high, but for a min price Dwight Powell, it's kind of high.
Yeah. Well, I guess, will you have any pieces of Dwight Powell at the min price?
I will not. I'll be taking my shots on Jericho Sims, I think.
Yeah,
and,
I think that's the better route to go there.
Yeah.
We didn't really touch on this just while we're here with the Dallas game. I actually decently like Tim Hardaway Jr. if he's going to play at 5.6. He is someone that averages 20 points per 36 with Christian Wood off the court. And really just seems to be at a good price tag, like a price tag that shouldn't really hurt you. I don't know if he's someone that is necessarily going to break a slate. Probably not someone in GPPs that you would really need to play. But we have seen him games where he gets 9 for 21 shot attempts. That was an overtime game, but we see him get these games that are high shot attempt games, and if he gets hot, could put up 40 DK points at 5.6. Like, not a terrible play. We just haven't seen it a lot recently because Christian Wood has just been dominating and getting the minutes. Do you have any kind of, did I talk you into Tim Hardaway at all there?
A little bit, yeah. Tim Hardaway is a guy that I really dislike playing. When he's in the starting lineup next to Luka and Christian Wood, it's like, yeah, he can hit a bunch of threes. That's his job, but it's really hard for him to find a ceiling. But without Christian Wood, I don't think his ownership's going to come in this low. We have 1% on DraftKings, 7 on FanDuel, but I think he's a pretty good GPP play as well. Yeah.
Good. Hey guys, if you're watching this, make sure to hit that thumbs up. It just kind of helps to push the video a little bit more. Just appreciate that. So DraftKings wise, let's see here. Any more centers? I'm kind of looking myself now. So we got Steven Adams, we got Kessler, Hartenstein, decent. We didn't really like Powell too much. What about Miles Turner? He was someone that was very interesting to me as a play on DraftKings at 7.1. It's definitely more of a price point play. We worry about that game blowing out, but that seems like a very cheap price tag for Miles Turner in a game in which, yes, it is going to be maybe a potentially blowout, but it's a game that could be a higher scoring game. Obviously, foul trouble we worry about as well, but.
Yeah, Miles Turner was a guy I was looking at earlier. He's 7,100. He's not coming in with crazy ownership or anything. It's a tough matchup against Jokic, but hopefully that means he has to stay on the court if he can stay out of foul trouble. but when I was running my stuff before the show, I was getting to a lot of centers before Miles Turner. Steven Adams, Nick Claxton,
About the
Walker
same
Kessler.
ceiling, cheaper price point, pretty much.
Yeah, especially like Miles Turner. I've noticed his ownership kind of comes in higher than projected almost every day as well.
It's got name value still.
Yeah. So, and Zubac also 4%. Like, I'd rather take shots on Zubac at 4%. I know that Paul George and Kawhi are back, but I'm probably not going to take that many shots on Miles Turner tonight. Just looking at my stuff, I don't have him projected that well anyway.
Yeah, I got you. The sticker shock price point there for me for sure.
Yeah. He does show up okay. Like, he's the 5th center on the index, so he's not a bad play. If his ownership stays low, he's a fine GPP play.
So we got a question that says no Jokic, right? And I pulled it up. I'm not seeing any news on him being out, so I'm assuming that's just a question saying, are you guys going to be on Jokic tonight? I think you could be. Going against the Pacers, it's going to be a good matchup. It's a game in which, they're probably going to, I don't want to say blow him out, but there's a chance that they could, and he'd be part of the reason why. Like, if he gets a triple-double, wouldn't be shocking. Do you have Jokic at all? I mean, I just feel like Kessler, like you mentioned, Adams, like you mentioned, are kind of better plays at their price tags.
So with Jokic tonight, the main thing I'm looking at is he's $800 cheaper than Luka on DraftKings, $500 cheaper on FanDuel. He's center only, but his ownership is under 10% on both sites. And if people are not going to want to play Luka because of fear of blowout, I know he's questionable right now, but they downgraded him to questionable. So if Luka's in, I really like getting to Luka. Like, I'd rather get to Luka. I'm sorry. Yeah, yep. Jokic. I'd rather get to Jokic than Luka, given the ownerships and prices. But if Jokic ends up being out, then that's kind of a big deal for Denver. Obviously, Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon, but everyone else too.
Yeah, basically everyone else would probably be load up on some Memphis players, load up on some Denver players. I do have it pulled up game log wise. Just looking at the last game against Indy, he put up 44 DK points in 21 minutes because he got into foul trouble. So give him 10 more minutes. Yeah, he could easily smash in that spot.
And he shot 10 for 20. Shooting like 18 for 20 recently, so
yes.
So if he's in, because I'm gonna assume he's out because he was downgraded midday. I think most people are. He's gonna come in with very low ownership. One of the last games. If he's in, I'm gonna play Jokic, but you got to pay attention to it and just keep up with the news.
Especially on DraftKings, like you get 50-50 maybe % chance that LeBron could be active as well. I mean, I'm assuming LeBron's going to be active, but you could easily pivot to him then. It's a bad price tag, but he's been going off recently. So,
it's an easy pivot
there. Yeah.
In a high total game. I like getting to LeBron too. He was one of the guys showing up a lot. I know he's expensive, but he's LeBron James. So,
what do we got for ownership on him? Just kind of curious.
LeBron right now, I'm showing 16 and 15 on DraftKings FanDuel respectively. Yeah,
probably right. Just easy to fit him into your builds tonight.
Yeah, I'm hoping he comes in a little bit lower because I'm going to be over that 16%.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just field a couple of questions. Do you guys think DFS is going to be a good play? I personally like Finney Smith a decent amount, just given the price tag, but I am much more of a cash player, whereas Chuck is much more of a GPP player. So at Finney Smith's price tag on DraftKings, and if we're specifically talking DraftKings, it's much more appealing to me. Just probably locking in, 4x, probably 5x, I should say, which at that price tag, like that should be enough. Going to get a lot of minutes, going to be productive. But for GPPs, are you trying to get to him, or just if you end up on him in a few of your builds, you're fine with it?
Yeah, I'm taking a look now. I didn't cross him out, so he's in my player pool, and I am getting to Finney Smith, so it's not like I'm not playing him tonight. But he's a player I'm indifferent on. Like, I actually have 19% of him right now. That's going to change, but he is there in my builds. It's just I'm not touching him, so whatever it gives me with him, I'm going to take.
Yeah. So let's do what we did kind of at the end of the last video. Let's try to make a cash build, just kind of with the news that we have. Obviously, this is a big 9-game slate. We expect this to change before lock. And if it does, just be in the Discord chat. We'll be touching on some of the news that kind of breaks throughout the evening and how we should adjust. We kind of touched on it as well in this video, but we'll be adjusting to that throughout the day. This cashed last time. I don't know if you knew that. Cashed kind of safely last time, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. So starting at the point guard position, we kind of decided like Jalen Brunson is a good GPP play. Maybe not the best cash play. Is it just going like Spencer and Dinwiddie at that price tag, 6.7?
Oh yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie might be the cash point guard today, but remember Luca's still in, so it's
Hmm.
like Luca being out is a way bigger positive to Spencer than Christian Wood being out.
Yep.
But Spencer's still going to look good tonight. But Spencer, I might have a bias against him. He's a guy that I'm never excited to get to when Luca's in.
Yeah, just because it could just be Luca putting up 70 fantasy points.
Yeah, but he's like he should be safe to put up close to 30. So he's probably a pretty good cash play. Yeah.
Yeah. So then moving on into the shooting guard position. Kind of mentioned Poole a little bit. Do you think he's priced up a little bit too much, or should we be looking to play him at the shooting guard spot, or just put, I guess we could do Dante at the point guard spot and then go Dinwiddie at the shooting guard spot. Kind of what are your thoughts there?
Oh, I'd be up for either of those combos. Yeah, Dante DiVincenzo is probably going to get in here either way.
Okay.
And so we don't necessarily have to play Poole. I would be wanting to get to maybe Desmond Bain, Jordan Poole, Josh Giddey, I think is an option we didn't mention earlier in this Sacramento game. He's been playing phenomenal. It's a pace up. His rates have corrected next to SGA, so don't forget Josh Giddey. But Jordan Poole is going to look great tonight. 40 minutes. I mean,
yeah, I put him in there for now. We did get a question about the Sacramento game since we mentioned it. Are there any players that you're looking at particularly other than like De'Aaron Fox? We kind of said he was someone else popping up in that game. Obviously, we just touched on Josh Giddey, but specifically for Sacramento, is it just Fox?
So I think we know that Domantas Sabonis is playing now, and so my interest in Fox is going to go down a little bit, but I still like him at that 8,200 price. It's probably a little bit too cheap even with Domantas in, and then Werder. And I think Malik Monk are really going to be the only other guys that I'm super interested in. Malik Monk just because his ownership's going to come in at nothing. He was like 20% owned last slate, which was insane. He wasn't projected for that at all, but I don't think people are going to go back to him again today. He played terrible. It's like he tried to take a shot or turn it over on every possession in the second half, so he only played 2 minutes. But if you want to take the risk, I'm going to take some shots on Malik Monk.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is a cheap price tag as well. Good matchup, so I don't mind that call. And then just real quickly before we try to finish this up, Ben Simmons. Thoughts on Ben Simmons pretty much?
I was thinking about this earlier. I meant to bring this up. So with Ben Simmons, he fouled out last night. He picked up 2 technicals in a row, arguing with the ref. He got ejected. And so his coach threw him under the bus after the game, saying something to the effect of like, Ben's a great player, but he can't help us if he can't stay out of foul trouble. And so Ben's like, you don't want to read into this stuff too much because it's noise. But with Ben Simmons specifically, he has pretty bad mental health struggles. So I see it going one of 2 ways. He's going to take it as a challenge, or he's going to crumble and, kind of not do well. And I kind of lean towards the second. And so his projection is not good today. If I had him for a good projection, I might consider lowering, but I already don't have him for a good projection. Like the model doesn't love him today.
No, he's priced up too.
Yeah, and he's priced up. I'd rather get to Nick Claxton at the center position. He's been pretty consistent, and I do like targeting bigs against Utah, even though Walker Kessler's there. Lauri Markkanen's back, and he's not good on defense either.
Yeah, I agree with that. Any like TJ Warren, if we're not playing Simmons or no, or Seth Curry, I guess.
Yeah, when they're up above 5K, there's just the other guys I'd rather get to. Like, I'm okay eating the Warriors chalk in front. I'd rather get to a player like Werder instead of Seth Curry or TJ Warren. So. Yeah, or even Lou Dort on the Thunder. I didn't even mention. I think he might be okay too. 4,800 against Sacramento.
That is a pretty cheap price tag for him, for sure. So just kind of trying to finish up kind of this thought process here with this build. I actually don't mind the idea of Anthony Lamb. I think I don't know. I don't want to put him in the power forward spot. Who should we go with at the power forward spot? Just as kind of a first look opener to tonight's stuff. Mobley.
I'd be okay with Lamb, Mobley, Aaron Gordon. Yeah, power forward might be the toughest position to fill today.
Was Sims a power forward eligible? I forget.
Sims, I think he was. Yeah, we can throw Sims in there and see
I'll toss him in. Hopefully we can get 20 points or something like that. 20 DK points, obviously. Whatever. For now, if better value opens up, can replace that. I don't love that. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. So Dante, we'll go with at the forward. Flex. Got another guard. So we got 8.9 left over. This is a pretty nice spot. I'm thinking Fox. I don't know.
Let's see, 8.9.
I guess who is the top play on the slate besides Luka? We could easily fit Luka in there. Luka.
Yeah, looking by the index, like Jokic is alone at the top. Then it's Luca, LeBron, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
I'd be if we can fit one of them in, I'd be okay with getting to any of them.
Okay. So since I already have Dinwiddie, I kind of want them to coexist, and I already have Finney-Smith a little bit. I went with Luca. Just hopefully it correlates a little bit tonight. I know it doesn't always, kind of like you said, but kind of hoping for that.
Mhm.
And then 5.4 left over.
Looks like easy spot to just plug in Nemhard, right?
That's what I was just thinking as well.
Yeah.
So kind of an okay looking first look build there. Obviously, this will adjust throughout the day. We still have, a good hour and 45 minutes before lock. But I don't think there's that many. Yeah, there's not that many questions on there. So I think we're pretty good to get out of here. You got any final thoughts there, Chuck?
I was just seeing if there was anyone on FanDuel that was super different from what I'm doing on DraftKings, but just looking at it, I mean, Kyrie's popping up a little bit for me on FanDuel versus DraftKings. The price is much better. We just saw Kyrie go off last night after Ben Simmons got ejected. But other than that, it's a lot of the FanDuel stuff is pretty much the same as DraftKings. Just keep in mind the center position.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's always weird the price differences, sometimes how drastic they can be, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lori, 9.5 on DraftKings, 8.7 on FanDuel. Just strange stuff there.
Yeah, great play on FanDuel, Laurie Markkinen.
Mm-hmm. But that's all we have for you guys. Just a reminder, we got the links to the description in the Discord chat that are listed below, as well as the tools that you kind of saw in this video, as well as to the OF lineup builder as well. If you guys want to follow us on social media, our handles are listed below our pictures. But that's all I have. Chuck, you got anything else?
No, that's what I have today. If you guys want to join the Discord, maybe we'll get some late news that we can update you guys on. But appreciate everyone coming here. Eric, shout out to you. Being a great host again. Thank you.
Yep. See you guys.